There's lots of room to criticize policies of the state of Israel. But what I worry about, what New Yorkers worry about, is when the guy gets assaulted for wearing a yarmulke and they hit him in the head and yell at him as a Zionist. Or when the governor's mansion in Pennsylvania is burned down by someone who claims Josh Shapiro has a policy on Palestine, which he doesn't. Or when 2 young Jewish people are shot and killed outside the Jewish Museum by someone who yells Free Palestine. Or when an elderly person is firebombed in Boulder, Colorado. Like an 80-year-old woman by someone angry about Gaza.
We're all shocked, and we all find this abhorrent, and I'm sure that the next mayor would say the same thing, wouldn't he?
You have to ask him.
Well, I think Yas said the same thing. I don't know. I think you have to. I think you look at the fact that he has gone to one high holiday service after another. He has talked to the Jewish community.
That's not exactly right. He went to an anti-Zionist synagogue, which is like going to the black breakout at CPAC and saying you understand African Americans. I mean, come on.
You're saying he hasn't talked to the Jewish community?
I don't know if a mainstream. Now, look, he has been to synagogues. He has Jewish people working for him for sure.
Right.
But if you look at the biggest institutions that represent Jewish New Yorkers, I have yet to see him engage with any of those. Now, my hope is the mayor-elect will do so in the days and weeks to come. But in the meantime,
but you're not suggesting that he supports the firebombing in Colorado.
I know. Never said
you're not suggesting that he supports the firebombing.
I never said that.
No. There is a lot.
Let me be clear.
There's a lot of blurring and blending here, Jonathan. And I love you, and you're on all the time, and I'm always a fierce defender of yours. But you seem to be like blurring a lot of things together, and then looking into that camera and say, call us. We're going to make sure that he doesn't support
I say to Jewish New Yorkers, call us if you feel unsafe.
I feel unsafe by this man.
Yes, seriously.
But I feel encouraged that even Morning Joe isn't putting up with this anymore.
And by the way, it was such a great clip. It was so hard to whittle it down, but just some context is the ADL has announced that they're launching a comprehensive citywide initiative to track and monitor policies and personnel appointments of the incoming Mamdani administration. So they're doing a Mamdani monitor. And earlier, we should mention that Jonathan Greenblatt said basically that Zohran wasn't meeting with the right Jews.
I wasn't the right Jew, I guess, when I was running for office and he was managing my campaign. Nor were my parents.
Right.
Bar mitzvahed and brist and did all those things.
What is your response to the ADL's effort initiative, the Mamdani monitor, and then talk more largely about the Jewish vote?
So what I find frustrating as a Jew who's not enamored with Israel is that the ADL crowd continually tries to imagine there's only one type of Jew in New York and in America. As you saw from Zohran's campaign, that's not true. Zohran has Jews on his campaign. He ran my campaign. My father lived in a kibbutz in the 1960s and got along very well with Zohran. My mother's been to Israel, and my father was a great Israel skeptic as well, became one. But Zohran doesn't have an anti-Semitic bone in his body. I mean, he's critical of Israel. He's critical of the Israeli state. I separate as you both do, but people don't get this. One can have a Jewish identity, feel Jewish, and not agree with the actions of a nation state thousands of miles away, a nation state that we have no real part in, right? We don't vote in those elections. I have never been to Israel. I have no intentions of going to Israel. And my family, I assume like yours, descends out of Eastern Europe, or mine comes out of sort of the Russian Jewish wave of the late 19th century. So
we're not from Palestine? We're not indigenous to Palestine?
We're not indigenous to
Palestine. Oh my God.
Believe it or not.
And
as a historian of this, as you all know, there's a long and rich tradition of anti-Zionism in Judaism and debates around where an Israeli state would even go. Many arguments about this, which of course are completely elided by the Greenblatts of the world. So, I find it very frustrating. I'll also say this, what I also hate is that if an anti-Semitic, hate crime happens under Eric Adams, it's not Eric Adams's fault, right? If it happens under Donald Trump, it's not Donald Trump's fault, but the minute anything happens under Mayor Mamdani, they're going to say he's fostering this climate of hatred and division. Meanwhile, there's just like, there have been swastikas written, on public places throughout the years. There have been Jews who've been attacked in public, and that's awful. And I denounce that as you all do. But this idea now that every single time there's an anti-Semitic hate crime that would have occurred under any mayor, because that's what crimes happen. They're anti-Black crimes, they're anti-Asian crimes. That is life in a city. They're going to try to blame it on him, and that's just something he has to be ready for. I mean, the amount of bad faith attacks on him are going to ratchet up, and there are good faith critiques of him to make, of his policies, of who he might appoint. Right? There are even ways to in this election to have argued a vote for a different candidate, but so much of it was bad faith, and I think that is what you're going to continue to see, because these people they can't accept that they lost. Like, that's part of it. Like Cuomo, his ilk, he didn't make a concession call to Zohran. I mean, that's insane. He didn't pick up the phone. Hillary Clinton, when she lost to Donald Trump, actually picked up the phone and called him. I mean, it's wild, right? So these people can't accept that their world is their hold on the narrative is ending. They are losing power, not gaining it. And yes, the Jewish community in New York is very complex. You have Orthodox Jews, you have Hasidic Jews, you have very pro-Israel Jews. They dislike Zohran for obvious reasons. I don't think that's going to change. But you also have many other secular Jews and progressive Jews, or even Jews who are pretty religious but are not enamored with the Israeli government. So these are the kinds of things that Greenblatt just can't, refuses to understand. He either is too dense, or it's just part of his entire MO to completely pretend this other world of Judaism does not exist. And they lost, so they're going to have to navigate that.
It really backfired on them. They made this a referendum on Israel, and I think that that helped Zohran, honestly.
Yeah, no, it is funny because, as you said, it is true. Zohran himself did not make this election a referendum in Israel-Palestine. He did not talk about it in his campaign ads. He was not talking about it on the stump. I mean, it really was a local focused campaign. It was an affordability campaign. And again, because he is pro-Palestine and he does have a long history in activism, he was asked about it, attacked on it, and it became that. Yeah, it really became a referendum, and they lost the referendum, and they lost it bad. I mean, they lost the primary by 13 points. They lost the general election by 9 points. I mean, you put it in the context, the amount of money spent against him I was trying to add up between the super PACs and the primary, the super PACs and the general. I mean, it was almost 30 in the primary. I think in the general, it totaled up close to 30 again. And you're talking probably almost $60 million plus Cuomo's own money. And these guys were, pouring out, 60, $70 million against him collectively, and they were beaten. So yeah, they made it the referendum. It's sort of like if, conservative put out a referendum on gay marriage and they lost the referendum, like the voter ID in Maine, they tried that and they failed. They tried a Palestine referendum, they were defeated. So now they can recalibrate or they can double down. Seems like they're going to double down, and that's what they'll do.